I think what makes this course different is that you explore a variety of leadership approaches. You're able to discuss those approaches, you're able to discuss it with people from different elements of organisations, and I think that's the key thing here. You're exposed to different organisations that in some programmes you wouldn't be exposed to, and what it allows you to do is it allows you to make connections. This course has inspired me to take a particular leadership approach and attempt to implement it with my colleagues. I will discuss the rich picture in particular, which I found extremely helpful throughout the programme. To begin with, when I read the brief, I wasn't too sure about it. And then once I actually attempted to create the picture, it made a lot more sense. So I am going to be using that approach with colleagues and senior leadership team. One of the things I'd like to say is I was able to learn the balcony and dance floor approach to leadership. It's something that I will be taking away with me, and I think it's one of the leadership approaches that I feel will be most effective within the organisation that I work within.
What I found most useful on the course was spending time with other managers from other organisations and recognising that a lot of the issues, concerns, problems that we have are fairly similar across all organisations. So I think the most important thing for me to take from this is the feedback from others. The biggest inspiration for me was identifying my systems leadership challenge, which was a challenge that I have in my current role. And we were asked to write it down. And I wrote it down in long technical terms, and we were asked to simplify it over time. And once I had written it, rewritten it, simplified it, it enabled me to look at it through fresh eyes and come to a simpler conclusion, a simpler method of resolving it. I'm reflecting on how I view those challenges myself, and they're not as big and all-encompassing as perhaps they were 2 months ago. I'm also reflecting on how I take input and feedback from others, and how important it is to take that feedback on board, recognise it and use it to resolve situations. I think my life has become a lot easier. It's certainly given me sort of fresh view of my role and how I can impact others in theirs, and that not everything is as big and sort of overpowering as it would have been 2 months ago. All of these things can be managed and resolved with supporting and being supported by others.
We can feel quite isolated. I think getting together and working with people, communicating with people across the SEN sort of sector allows you to think that actually the problems that we face on a day-to-day basis around cultural changes actually are quite global. The ideas that I took were very much around cultural change and how you influence areas within organisations that need development. The problems that I was able to unpick was around communication and identifying who the leaders were in the organisation that I needed to be more informative with, have better relationships with, because some of the problems that I'm facing are cultural changes and really lack of awareness of what's going on the front line. So some of the tools that I've taken away are certainly around the way I influence, the influencing, the common skills around influencing, being aware of actually as an influencee how the message that I get across needs to be communicated, and the people that I need to deliver my message to. So it allowed me to recognise the leaders that I needed to influence, and by doing that with a set goal in mind, it enabled me to be very clear with the direction that I needed to go.